Assalamu alaikum. Let's discuss how we could score an 8 on 8 in paper 3 that tests us on the unit education in A2 Sociology. To begin with, I'd like to pick up a question from May, June 2023. Having a look at the question over here says, explain two reasons why material deprivation may affect educational attainment. Remember, the question before this, the 4-mark question, it typically starts with the term describe, whereas this 8-mark question typically starts with the term explain. Now, when we talk about this 8-mark question, they're demanding us to give two reasons why material deprivation may affect educational attainment. Now, like we did for the 4-mark question, let's treat this 8-mark question as two separate questions of 4 marks each. Now, when we dividing this into two separate questions of 4 marks each, it actually gets easier for us to be able to keep a check if we're actually meeting the criteria that the examiner has set to grade us, to mark us. Now, to begin with, let's focus on what has been highlighted over here in yellow. We get the first mark for identifying that point or making the point, right? So we're getting the first mark for identification over here. We're getting the second mark for explaining the point that we've identified or developing it, call it whatever you want to. We get the third mark for using relevant sociological material. Remember, the focus is on the one relevant sociological material. Do not just end up writing whatever occurs to you at that particular time. Stop, think. Think of a relevant sociological material and then use it. Any point that you know is relevant to the question. It could be any study, it could be any concept, it's written over here, it could be any theory, any sort of empirical evidence, right? But make a point that the study, concept, theory, or empirical evidence that you've chosen actually can be developed and be linked to the point that we had initially started. So it should be eventually linking to this point. Now, we need to explain the relevant sociological material and link it to the initial point, right? Now, and remember, writing answers in a clearer manner is your responsibility. Do not just write anything and expect the examiner to imply or to read your mind and grade you accordingly. You'd be graded in terms of what you've written on the script, and that's it. Now, if we have a look at this question, let's focus on what has been highlighted over here in blue now. The point that the examiner has chosen to explain this to us is lack of school facilities. Lack of school facilities, again, may affect the educational attainment of pupils. Now, when we talk about lack of education, school facilities, if you want to develop it further, you could say lack of blackboards or computer reduces the opportunity for learning. This is again an example of material deprivation. Relevant sociological material over here could be the study that was conducted by Ramachandran in India, on schools in India. So again, this is relevant sociological content, right? And to be able to explain this, Ramachandran's research showed 35% of schools in India lacked blackboards or classroom furniture. Of course, I'm not asking you or expecting you to write whatever's written over here, highlighted over here in blue as is. You need to write it in your own words. You need to develop it, right? Okay, now a few things that I want everyone to keep in mind. Number one, choose a point. Initially, be very choosy. Think, stop and think. Think and choose a point that you show you could link with relevant sociological material. Do not just read the question and start off with whatever point comes to you right away. Think of a point that you know you can explain, that you know you can provide relevant sociological material with, which again can be explained further to link it to that original point. So yeah, that's how you score 4 marks. Here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then repeat. It's as simple as that. The more you practice, the better you keep on getting at it. And yeah, thank you.